So, bro, if I lose $800 tomorrow, it's fine.
It's fine. Everything's gonna be okay.
I'm still overall. I'm 3K, 3K up
That's pretty good.
on 5K.
Do you only do Weeble?
No, I have Weeble, Ameritrade. So on Weeble, I have 9K.
Oh, okay.
On Robinhood, that's my long term. Look at that.
Let me see. Damn, that's good.
But that's because I had like 10K in there and I took out everything except the profit. So
Yeah.
I got restricted as a day trader, so I moved to Weeble. I got restricted as a day trader there, so I moved to Ameritrade.
Oh, Lord.
Bro, because I'd rather take the $500 and the 90-day restriction.
Right. Tell Sasha that she better find that shirt right now. That's Late Night with Chef's property.
Late night with chefs. I will find it. I got the hoodie.
There you go.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another amazing podcast, Late Night with Chefs. We have an awesome guest chef tonight, Chef Chris. How are you doing tonight, Chef?
I'm doing all right. I'm actually on vacation right now, so y'all are catching me on vacation.
Awesome. That's the best time. I hope you're having a good time, relaxing, staying safe. How are you doing, Doug, this evening?
Doing well tonight. Doing well. Trying to stay safe as well in the great state of Florida.
Representing the FLA.
Yes, exactly.
All right. You guys already hitting it off. Got a connection. That's awesome. So Chef Chris, I ask all our guest chefs to say hi to our viewers tuning in. So if you can do your privileges and say hi to them.
Hey guys, my name's Chris Infinger. I am chef owner of a restaurant in Panama City, Florida called Beau's. It's a meat and three. So, and I also have a little podcast on the side called My Secret Service.
Awesome. So as we all get introduced, we are very excited to have you on this podcast. Thank you so much for taking a little bit of your vacation time and sharing it with us. We are super excited to have you on the pod. And I'm super excited to hear your background story and what got you in cooking and, what fueled the fire and the passion. Yeah, if you can get us started there.
So I started cooking whenever I was 15 years old. I was working at a Quiznos Subs. I guess you wouldn't call that cooking. I was warming up sandwiches in a conveyor oven at 15 years old.
There you go.
Yeah. They actually, Quiznos calls their employees, I don't even know if they're still around. I haven't seen one in years, but they call their employees sandwich artists, which is funny. That they're not artists. They're minimum wage employees is what they are.
Sandwich. Yes.
Yeah. Sandwich artists. But anyway, so I worked at Quiznos, and then this new like sports bar was opening next door, and I went over there and started line cooking, working a fryer, frying chicken wings, doing that thing. I worked there for like through high school, and 7 days after I graduated high school, I moved to West Palm Beach, Florida, and went to I was initially going to go to Johnson and Wales. I was going to go to culinary school regardless, and went to Johnson and Wales, and it was like this giant university type experience, which I didn't really want. I partied a lot in high school. I did a lot of dumb shit in high school. So I got that out of my system, and I was like, no, I have to like pay attention here. Cause
how dumb was the dumb shit? I'm just
in high school, I did a lot of dumb shit, man. Like we would go party. We would drinking bottles at 17 years old, 16 years old of Captain Morgan's was a normal thing for us.
Is this Florida high school?
Gatorade and vodka on a school bus?
No, so we used to make this drink called Skip and Go. And what it was, or pink panty droppers is another name for it, but we called it Skip and Go. And what it was a 24 pack of Natural Light.
Natty Light. There you go.
Yeah, a
That's a
24
high school
pack.
experience.
You gotta have the orange Gatorade cooler. 24 of the beers poured into that. A quart container of pink lemonade powder. Okay, and then and a entire bottle of like Everclear, like rubbing alcohol essentially, and we'd mix that shit
Skull.
up and drink it. Yeah, and we'd drink that. So we did a lot of dumb stuff, like the Party X movie. That I've lived that life in high school. So college was like a serious experience for me. Yeah, I had a little bit of fun while I was there, but I went to culinary school full time at this place called Florida Culinary Institute, and then I worked on Palm Beach Island at this place called Cucina del Arte. So college was a totally different experience than high school.
Did you have more pleasure taking, like the educational side of the cooking and?
I think I was just so busy. I had to pay my own bills in college. Like I'm blessed that my college was paid for by my parents. I got lucky there. But to live there, I had to pay. So I had to pay my own rent, power bill, insurance, pay for my own gas, cell phone, things of that nature I had to pay for. So I had to work all the time. I mean, Palm Beach, Florida is not a cheap place to live. Even when you live in the hood, like it's still not cheap.
It's still West Palm.
Yeah, I mean, I think my apartment was like, I had a 400 square foot apartment that was like $900 a month. So yeah, so it was quite expensive, and that was in 2006. So that was a while back.
So the beginning of your, culinary school career, I know me and Vlad experienced this as well when we were going to culinary school. Did you feel like a leg up on the other kids in culinary school, the fact that you were working and going to school at the same time? You're able to sort of put all this knowledge to work. Yeah.
I think at least like when I went to culinary school, it was all about fine dining. No, like chefs weren't doing fast casual concepts. They weren't doing the taco shops. They weren't doing the burger shops. Everyone had to have the nice restaurant, and everyone was chasing JB awards and Michelin stars. So it's like, I got lucky and got into one of those restaurants that was trying to do that was trying to get a James Beard Award. So I was working with these high quality ingredients. That definitely gave me a leg up. It's like, this pint, like in school, we could get pineapples or we could get whatever. And I'd be like, these are shit compared to what I'm using at work. Like the stuff I'm using at work is like, this is Parmesan cheese. And you get this little, like we're getting in the whole wheels,
Right.
We're getting in like huge wheels of grana padano, and like I'm like, oh, that's nothing. I could break that down or whatever. Yeah, it definitely gives you a leg up.
Nothing tells that you've worked at a fine dining establishment like using grana padano. Like like what is grana padano, right? And
it's the cheese we use because we're tired of putting Parmesan on menus. That's what it is.
Yeah, exactly. The Parmesan and the Pecorinos run out.
Chef Tango, he's doing he's doing fresh pastas to go in Napa Valley area, and
he seems to be killing it.
Yeah, he's killing it. He's doing like squid ink stuff with
I follow him on social.
Local. Yeah, he works with local foragers and fisheries. Gets like sea urchin and stuff, and offers it. But, we were having the same conversation. We were talking about grana padano, and like we were talking about cacio pepe, and like, would you use grana padano or parm? So he said grana padano is too salty for his taste. I personally like it. I think it's less dry, more creamy. So, but that's definitely like, when we're talking amongst us and you throw grana padano, that's just like the norm, right?
Yeah,
so
I mean, I've seen a shit ton of it back in the day.
Yeah.
I don't use any of that stuff now. I mean, I make fried chicken. That's what I do. Like we make a shit ton of we sell like 600 pounds of fried chicken a week. For a tiny 42-seat meat and three, that's a pretty good amount of weight.
Right.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So as you're, going to culinary school and you're working at this fine dining place, were you working there the whole time you went to culinary school?
No. So while I worked there for about a year, and then my best friend that I met down there, this guy I met in school, his name's Daniel Pagan. He was working at a sports bar, like an oyster bar, sports oyster bar kind of thing, and they needed a bar back, and he was like bringing in all this cash, working as a bartender in this restaurant, and I was like, do you make that much cash every day? And he's like, yeah, man. And I was like, shit, I need to get a job there because I'm tired of being a broke ass line cook.
Right.
And
70 hours a week just to pay the $900 rent. Yeah.
And then like going to school 4 days a week as well. So I was like, damn. And he's like, hey, we're hiring. I'll get you on as a bar back. And I know how to shuck oysters. Like I'm from an area that oysters are extremely prominent. Like you learn to shuck an oyster where I'm from, like at 3 years old. That's kids running around with oyster knives happens here. Okay. Like it's not uncommon. So I was like, I shuck oysters for fun, man. I can definitely do it for work. And so I started shucking oysters at this bar. And then I started bartending and shucking oysters because I could do both of them, whereas most people could not. And I worked there through a while until I got fired because I got drunk at work one night and danced on the bar.
Happens to the best of us.
Hey,
Yeah.
It's a good memory, I bet.
Yeah, well, it was I was off that night and I had gone to work. They were having like a karaoke thing, and I'm a big fan of Alan Jackson. And so Alan Jackson came on and I just was wasted and being an idiot and got fired for that.
One too many natty lights with the pink Gatorade.
Yeah, exactly.
So you got fired on your day off.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. During karaoke night from McKinnis Place in West Palm Beach.
No soul, those owners.
Early
No soul.
vacation.
Yeah.
Like, I want to have a long weekend.
Yeah. So, it gets even better. So after I leave McKinnis Place, and I'm like, I go to this mall in West Palm Beach called Wellington Green. And I was just going there to get something to eat. And Wellington Green is like, the best way to explain it is it might be the MILF capital of the world. Like it's West Palm. And there's
hold on. Let me write this down.
Wellington Green Mall.
You heard it here first, okay?
Yes. Late Night with Chefs, bringing you the most important details.
Yeah. So there's this place in the Wellington, it used to be there, it's not there anymore, called Dale and Thomas Popcorn. And I walked into Dale and Thomas Popcorn and I got some popcorn. They made like gourmet popcorn. And the owner of the store was taking my order. And I was like, what do y'all do here? And he's like, oh, we make popcorn. And he like shows me this whole experience. It's got like this. I'm like, oh, that's cool. He's like, what do you do? I was like, oh, I go to culinary school. And he's like, oh, which one? And I told him, he's like, oh, I graduated from that school. He's like, you want a job? And I was like, I'm not making fucking popcorn. You're crazy, dude. Like, and he's like, oh, I'll pay you this. And it was like $15 an hour in 2007. And I was like, what'd you say?
To do what?
What do you want me to do? $15 an hour to put kernels in that machine and press the on button? Sign me the fuck up, buddy. Let's go. So I started working there, and obviously everyone that worked there was an idiot. So I progressed to be a manager fairly quickly of this popcorn store and just made popcorn until I moved back to Panama City where I'm at now. And then whenever I got back to Panama City, I went to work for Marriott, which was a great company to work for. I love working for Marriott. Got back into doing fine dining, high-end foods, started a catering company, got recruited to open up a high-end restaurant in Panama City, worked there 5 years as executive chef, learned a lot, fucked up a lot, did a lot of cool shit there, and then opened Beau's.
So at the Marriott, were you working, obviously you were working a hotel restaurant there?
So there was a restaurant that wasn't connected to the hotel. It was like the Marriott in Panama City. It's owned by Starwood now. Starwood owns the property is now, but it used to be owned by Marriott. It had like a offsite, like really high end restaurant. It was on property, but not connected to the hotel.
Gotcha.
So yeah, it was like we were using like Carabuta pork and
Hell yeah.
yeah, fucking Wagyu in 2008. And we were only doing like 60 covers a night. It was sick food. Everything was very detailed. Like all the seafood was phenomenal. And the recession happened. Like just the economy just tanks. And obviously that restaurant's not viable anymore. So
Right.
then I went to the hotel restaurant where it was like way more casual, made quesadillas and shit like that. But it was a lot of high volume cooking. So I got into banquets there and did some banquets, which was a lot of fun.
So I always wonder about, because I have been in the hotel restaurant game for about the last 5 years. And so do you see a huge difference between, hotel restaurants and standalone restaurants and, serving your clientele and sort of the demand of the clientele?
Yeah, man. Because hotel restaurants are rarely local driven, like not from ingredient standpoint, but from the clients, the people that are eating there they're there for a week or they're there for 3 or 4 days and they're gone.
Right.
So you might hit them like for breakfast once, and then get them for dinner once, or you get them, they drink a lot in the lounge areas, but there's a huge difference because it's really, really hard to build a local clientele following in a hotel restaurant.
I agree. I've seen that a lot. I feel it also, sometimes we as chefs are driven to innovate based off of our clientele. And I feel like when you're working in that environment where innovation doesn't necessarily need to happen to keep it, fun and fresh because, the guests aren't coming back week after week. You can definitely sort of get into a rut, a little more stagnant of a work environment.
Yeah, it did. Making quesadillas and shit, I hated it. I was like, I hate doing this, but it was okay. Like some of the food was awesome, and there's those menus can be weird. Like you can have a quesadilla, and then down the line you can have like a tomahawk steak, and I'm like, it doesn't make sense.
Right.
No, and kind of going on that is that, you'd almost have to educate the entire market to have like hotels be a fine dining destination, kind of like they are in Las Vegas. And I was watching the new Chef's show on Netflix. No, anybody seen it? Either way,
which one? As in the chef with Roy Chang, or
yeah, it's one of those.
The spinoff of the movie.
Yeah, exactly, that one.
Yeah.
And they were talking to like Wolfgang, and he was one of the first to kind of bring fine dining into Vegas, and like, then it became hot, and then it became a, kind of like any city when it becomes like a global hotspot for like fine dining establishments.
Off of that show, I think it's so interesting. You're talking about the one where the actor had to make Wolfgang an omelet.
Yeah.
And Roy Chang was like teaching him. Yeah. And I think.
And then he told him not to use a plastic spatula, and I was like,
yeah.
But food's not gonna taste like plastic, okay? Calm down.
He's a man that can kind of, say what he wants. I think he's earned that at this point. But I think that show's so interesting because he gives such a innocent, like, first, like, he reminds me when I was like just starting in culinary school, like asked a million questions, always wanted to do things by the book, like would study and learn like exactly what was going on. And then you can see the dynamic between him, who's like, this like new baby deer trying to walk in this culinary life. And then you have Roy Chang, who's just like, yeah, like whatever, just fucking put the shit with the shit and make sure it tastes good. And, however it goes. And it's so funny to see that evolution, and that dynamic between the two is pretty interesting.
100%.
Yeah. I'm very much that whatever, put the shit with the shit. Let's go. Like,
yeah.
That's me.
I think once you like start to learn how to cook and you realize that there's so many different ways to get the same outcome, I think that's when you start to develop that. Maybe that's what makes a chef versus a cook, is if you know how
100%.
closely you follow those guidelines.
Yeah. Like whenever I'm writing recipes, my cooks they'll bring me the recipe book and be like, what did you mean by this? And I'm like, oh shit, I wrote that recipe like I talk, like I speak to someone. So it's like, put this shit here and do it like this, you know? And then they're like, I don't understand. And so I'm like, okay, standardize them a little more for you guys. I'm sorry.
Right, exactly. Using those layman terms, like, what do you mean you
Yeah.
don't understand? So you were talking about, you know, you were at Marriott and then you had a little bit of a transition and then you had your own catering company before you did your
Yeah.
restaurant?
Yeah, I've always since Marriott, I worked the property I worked at in the off season, didn't do a whole lot of events. So they would let me, I approached them one day. I was like, hey, can I like use your stuff to do a catering? And they're like, yeah, you can rent it from us. I'm like, oh, that's cool. So
That's nice.
did that a couple times. And then, you know, me and my girlfriend at the time, wife now, had an apartment. So I would cook out of my apartment, which is totally illegal, but I didn't care. And people started hiring me to do like in-home dinners, and I got lucky. I just promoted myself pretty well, and I got lucky. I got this 50th birthday party for some friends of some friends, essentially. And this guy was there, and he approached me and was like, hey, you made all of this food by yourself? It was like 100-person birthday party. Me and my wife did it. And I was like, yeah. And he was like, well, you're pretty good. And I was like, well, thanks, man. I appreciate it. So he's like, I'm opening a restaurant and I need a head chef. And I was like, oh yeah, cool, guy. You and fucking everyone else, man. Everybody wants to open a restaurant. Yeah.
Right, exactly.
And then he's like, no, I like know what I'm doing. And I'm like, okay, well, great. And he gave me his card, and I didn't expect, like, I wasn't going to call him or chase him or anything, but so this dude calls me up like 2 weeks later, and he's like, hey, I want to meet you for breakfast and show you something. I'm like, all right, where you want to go for breakfast? And he tells me this place in Panama City called Granny's. Granny's is a $9.99 buffet. Okay.
There you go.
You're going to take me to a $9.99 buffet, dude? Are you fucking serious? So I go, and he has these plans, and he like it was like a movie, you know, like Godfather, like rolling out some cash or something. He like rolls out these plans, and I look at him and I'm like, where the hell are you building that at? And he was like, oh, I'm building it in this spot. And I'm like, no shit, not kidding. He was building a fine dining restaurant next to Section 8 housing, which is government subsidized housing, a water treatment plant, and a used car lot. Those were his neighbors. Oh, and a Winn-Dixie was across the street.
Ambitious.
I'm like, you are out of your mind, and I kind of like that about you. So what do you got to offer, you know? So he was like, well, I can offer you this. And it was shit pay at the time. It was like $500 a week or something ridiculous, like for the amount of work that I was about to put in. So I took it, and that really, really helped me get established in my hometown. People came to eat there. The food was pretty good. And people were like, wow, this guy, he knows what the fuck he's doing. Like, started putting out some quality food, doing a ton of catering after that. Like, I think the most we did in a year for that restaurant, catering wise, which is like me going off site and doing who knows what, was like, I think we did 175,000, our busiest catering year.
Wow. So at this
Amazing.
point, are you catering under the restaurant, or are you still doing like a private thing?
No, for them, for George, I was doing catering for the restaurant. So I was the executive chef and doing all the offsite catering. So without that dude, I would be nowhere. His name was George Hewsome. He passed away a few years ago. But yeah, he was like a mentor to me. He was a great dude. He taught me any of the little bit of business shit that I know is what he taught me. And I don't know much, but he taught me the little bit I do know. And
Yeah.
we were doing massive catering. Like we'd do weddings of 500, 600, 700 people off site, plus have the restaurant open. So that really
Hustling.
helped me get a step. Oh yeah, dude, like grinding 90-hour work weeks, just wild shit. Just the restaurant would be doing like 350 covers on a Friday, and I would be off site the next morning at like 7 a.m. setting up Sally's wedding at the beach, like carrying Cambros of fucking stuff down to the sand, cooking in the sand. Yeah. So it was just like that's what showed me like, okay, if you have a restaurant in the town that I'm from and you can like capitalize on the catering, you're going to make it. Like you're definitely going to do well for yourself.
Yeah. And
unfortunately, I don't have the resources that restaurant has with my new restaurant, but we're getting there.
And so while you were, you know, was this your first leap into like opening a restaurant, first executive leap? I know you talked a little bit about learning a lot. What was, you know, I'm sure there's a lot of chefs out there that are, you know, at that crossroads in their life where, you know, they've been sous chef for, you know, 8 or 9 years and they think that they're ready to take that step. You know, what made you so sure that you were ready to, you know, open up a place and be the exec?
I wasn't. I knew that I knew the opportunity would be a while before that came around again. You know, and I think sometimes chefs are very confident people, but they're cocky, they can be maniacs. But we're also kind of like very reserved on our own talents. We know we can do it, but we don't believe in ourselves as much as we believe in the product we put out almost. So it's like, I didn't know if I could do it. I damn sure really didn't truly believe I could, but I lied to myself enough to figure this shit out, you know, like, hey, I know if I buy great beef and great seafood, it's hard to screw up, you know, like start with good ingredients and try not to fuck them up. Like that was literally my motto, and just got lucky, grind, learn, read a lot of books, go to food and wine shows, you know, learn from other people. I didn't have like the traditional dishwasher, line cook, sous chef experience. Like I literally went from being a line cook to doing events for people, running my own events, and then just got thrown into this like executive chef role that I thought I could do. And I did pretty well with it, but I had a lot of help along the way. Like the guy, George, who I'm talking about, he really, really, you know, taught me very basic things of like how to negotiate pricing and things like that I had no clue about. I was just upfront with him and honest and be like, look, dude, I'm here to cook. I don't know anything about that world. You know, I know that I can make steak the way you want it made, and I know I can train people to do that. But how to buy it for cheaper, I'm not so sure about that part. And he just walked me through that process.
And so is he a developed like restaurateur in the area, or was this his first like West Palm Beach sort of experience as well?
No, this was back in Panama City.
Panama City.
Yeah, at this point, it was back in Panama City. No, he had been in the restaurant business for a while. He was the general manager of the very first Outback Steakhouse ever opened.
Wow.
Yeah. He was like,
so a true OG.
Yeah, he was the very first Outback's GM, and then he opened like the 14th Outback and got profit share, and then he opened up the 200th Outback and got profit share, and the 200th Outback is the one that made him fairly wealthy because that one was doing like 7 million a year, and he was getting like 15% of net plus the salary, so he was making a shit ton of cash. And then he opened up another restaurant. He opened up a little restaurant group, which is what the other place was under. So he had like a pizza joint, and he had a couple pizza places, and then he opened up another nice place.
Sounds like a very, very wise man, and seems
Oh
like he
yeah,
was
he was
doing it for
brilliant.
the passion versus, to make big bucks or anything like that.
Yeah, no, he wasn't doing it to be like he wasn't a chef, he was a business person. He was driven by business. He went to Florida State. He knew how to like work a dining room pretty well, and I learned a lot about that because as chefs, until you get out in a dining room and start talking to customers, you're kind of like a shy, more reserved person. But he just watching him and asking him questions about why the hell he was talking to people helped me get out in the dining room. And then that just snowballed because once you start doing events and owning your own restaurant, unfortunately, people want to talk to you.
Yep.
They want your face. They want to talk to you. You can't be stuck in the kitchen all the time anymore. There's other shit you have to do.
Right.
And
The difference between having a conversation with, the host and a couple guests could mean you're booked for the next, 3-4 months.
exactly. And now I talk to a lot of customers. I mean, customers have my cell phone number, which can get annoying as shit, but it also pays off in the long run if they spend, $10,000-$15,000 a year with you, which if they have my cell phone number, they spend that much. They're there once a week or twice a week or 3 times a week, or they book me for their caterings and whatever they need.
Yeah. So kind of touching base on like, where were you, prior to COVID, and then like, where were you during COVID, and how did that affect you? And, what were you doing to stay positive, keep that hunger? Um, yeah.
So COVID, it ate our ass up, man. We so in 2018, October 10th of 2018, um, was supposed to be my grand opening at Beau's. Like I saved my whole life, me and my wife, our life savings, and took a owner finance deal on a restaurant that was the guy wanted to sell it. We convinced him to owner finance us this restaurant, and he was like, okay, this is what you're going to pay me. This is what you're going to do. And I'm like, cool. We change the name. We get a new sign. We dump like $35,000 into it. That's what we have. Like, no bullshit. 35 grand. We're going to go for it. And October 10th is supposed to be our opening day. It was a Wednesday. A Category 5 hurricane hits that day in our hometown in Panama City. Destroys the entire town. Wipes it clean. Like, left like 30,000 people without houses, no internet, no power. There were people in our town that didn't have power for 2 months. Like, we didn't have internet at the restaurant for a month. We got lucky 10 days after Michael happened. Our building wasn't affected that much. We kind of got lucky. We really just did get lucky. So we opened up Beau's 10 days after. We were like writing on notepads to do orders because there was no internet, no cable TV, none of that. Cash only. We couldn't run credit cards because the cell phone towers were all down. So we couldn't hook up Square to a phone or anything like that. Like, it was nothing.
Devastating.
Nothing like that was happening.
It's crazy.
Yeah. So we made it through the first 3 months. We were pretty busy because we were one of the few restaurants open. And then 2019 comes and we do great through 2019. We're seeing like a little growth, and then February rolls around of 2020 and COVID happens, obviously. We shut down the restaurant March 18th because it went to go only, and we're so tiny, man. Like, to go only would have crushed us. Like, we just couldn't make it work with the revenue. So I was like, we can either take what we have, hold on to it, and pay the minimal bills and wait for this to pass, or we can try to do this takeout only thing, which I think we're going to lose our ass on.
Just because I know we talked about that before, just the overhead that businesses are having to pay now with all the to-go silverware and the to-go containers and the bags and the sanitizing equipment. It's an insane amount of cost occurred just to do business, on top of all the other capital and overhead that a normal operation would incur.
Yeah, I mean, it's we spend on disposables, so silverware packets and to-go boxes. We spend like $500 a week on that shit right now, and it's like, man, dude, and it's just like money wasted because you're never getting that back. You know, you
Right.
can't sell it. They're charging you tax for it as well because you can't sell it. So we're paying tax on it. Plus, it's like, geez Louise, and then it's rationed. You know, so then it's like, hey, I need 6 cases of to-go silverware, and they're like, you can only have 4 this week, and I'm like, well, what am I going to tell the people? You know,
I'll just tell the other 200
That's
people that they
crazy.
got to eat with their fingers.
yeah. So over the 2 years we've been open since October 20th of 2018. In the 2 years we've been there, we've experienced a Category 5 hurricane and COVID. So I'm like, dude, if we can make it through this bullshit, we're gonna be okay.
It'd be golden.
Yeah,
Nothing is gonna be worse than this.
yeah. And COVID, like it cut our business by 50% for sure. You know, when we reopened the restaurant, I wasn't gonna reopen until the government allowed us to reopen with people inside. So we were at 25%. And then we reopened when they went to 50%. So we waited like even till they went to 50 and reopened. Took like, we're already tiny. So I think we have like four tables in the main dining area right now. And then we have like 5 tables in the outside area. So we have 9 tables. That's it.
And so
the amount, like percentage wise, I think most of the people in my area are all down like 50%, just because we didn't get the right amount of tourists. Obviously, you know, the snowbirds didn't come. Obviously, the locals were pretty skittish about going out because some tourists amazingly did come. I still don't get that, but so the locals stayed home, and it's like, now we ain't got shit, you know, because these tourists are down here spreading COVID around, and the locals don't want to come out because of it.
yeah, I know I'm in Pinellas County, so in the Tampa area, and you know, right now we're in the news. I think we're like 3rd on Florida's list, right behind Polk County, as far as new cases every single day. And there's still I'll go out and walk the dog, and there's a lot of people who are still vacationing here, who are still coming to try to return to normalcy at some point. But you can definitely tell that the tourists are out, and they're spending the money, but all that local business, like you're talking, is at home, worried,
Yeah.
Doesn't want to interact the same way, doesn't want to go to the same local spot every week, because they know that hundreds of different people from all over the place are also there, and it's reliant on that one person who is making $10 to $12 an hour to make sure that the sanitizer bottle that they're using is not 4 hours old, and that that they have the right amount of chemical mix in there, and that they're spraying the table down completely. And so it's definitely, when you bring it down to that level of who are you putting in responsible for making sure that that restaurant is staying clean and up to standard, it could definitely entice people to stay inside.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that has hurt us was being like, I've always wanted a small restaurant. I don't want the 300 seat, 200 seat, 150 seats, too much for me. That's hurt us through COVID because it's a small enclosed area, like you can only fit so many people in there, and then it's uncomfortable, and it's really uncomfortable if there's a pandemic going on. So
Right.
like that's been a challenge. And some people are just like, I don't understand why they don't want to eat outside. We didn't put up a tent or anything. Some restaurants did. I'm like, that defeats the purpose. Like, if you put up a tent and put 4 walls on it, it becomes fucking inside. Okay. Then it is an inside tent.
100%.
We didn't do that. We're like, it's outside. If you want to eat here, you can eat outside. And our 6 picnic tables we have outside,
Yeah.
So.
And so have you noticed having to, the offering that you guys are serving, have you guys had any limit as to what you are serving, or had to pivot in any manner as far as what you guys are serving and what you're doing at
Oh,
Beau's?
well, yeah, we saw costs go up. I mean, we serve a product that it's not expensive. It's fried chicken and cornbread and two sides, or country fried steak and two sides. But we saw prices like jump, obviously. Things weren't moving around as much. So like, whereas we were buying chickens for like $1.15 a pound, that's not the case anymore. We were getting like ribs for nothing, and then now it's just like, holy shit, man, like, do I have to take ribs off the menu? We were serving them every day, and then we went to serving them once a week, and then I'm like, and people are like, why'd you do that? And I was like, they doubled in cost. Like, will you pay more for them? Well, I don't know. I'm like, exactly. So
Right.
I have to read you, the customer's mind, and figure out whether you will pay for this or not. Because if you don't, then I have to eat it, and
Right.
I'm not in business to lose money.
Right.
So,
Exactly.
yeah,
Well, they don't see those invoices.
No, they don't. And then we went up, like, reopening for COVID, we went up like 71 cents on like a fried chicken meal, and some people were aggravated about that. And I'm like, you've got to be shitting me. You're kidding me. It's 71 cents. Like,
right.
It's 71 cents more than what it was the last time you were here 10 weeks ago, pre-pandemic. And I don't know if you've went to the grocery store and seen what ground beef and chicken costs, man, but it's not the same price it was 10 weeks ago. Okay.
Right.
It's a commodity. It goes up and down based on market. So.
Exactly. So what's the plan for Beau's right now? What are you guys, doing moving forward? Are you guys just kind of, I know, DeSantis in Florida, seems to be a little bit of a free for all, in some aspects, but what's the move? What's the idea trying to get on the other side of this?
Well, doing a ton of catering. We do a lot of like doctor's office caterings, because those doctor's offices don't want their employees to leave. They don't want them to leave for lunch. They want them to come to work and go home. That's what they want them to do. They don't want them getting COVID. So they're ordering more than they were pre-pandemic, and they're ordering like all box lunches. So we're doing a ton of that. Like, I think yesterday we had like a 75 person office.
That's awesome. And how do you connect to, that demographic? Do you use any like, websites or applications? Like, I know Easy Catering.
That's the one I use. Easy Cater, I will advocate for them all day long.
Yeah, they're a heavy hitter, especially, when you say doctor's office. I know, like, one thing people don't think about, but, they're not going to go to Grubhub or something like that. They're going to go for more office-y spots, and Easy Cater is definitely an easy way to connect to them.
Yeah, Easy Cater does wonders for us, and we do quite a bit of business through them, like more than what I thought whenever I signed up for it. Whenever I opened the restaurant,
100%.
Like, way more than what I thought. Like, there's weeks that we do 10 or 15 Easy Caters, and I'm like, holy shit, these people are paying my bills. Like, literally, they are paying my bills right now. Like, Easy Cater is what is keeping us afloat. Easy Cater, and then private events.
On Easy Cater, you could charge for utensils also. So.
Yeah.
I mean, you can add
Vlad with the secret tips.
I'm just saying, Chicago, but no, like if they want extra stuff like that. But I helped my parents' small business as well, and when I signed them up for Easy Cater, they had the same experience. But unfortunately, in Chicago, all the offices kind of closed down and working minimal things. So it's regional, right? And you got to take what you get, and find as much business as you can to stay afloat through these times.
The private catering is, so the house that I'm staying in now is a really, really nice house. Like, y'all can see some of this. Like, it's like 7 bedrooms, and it's got a heated pool and 5 bathrooms. Anyway, so the house I'm staying in now, it's in Port St. Yeah, it's in Port St. Joe, Florida, which is a cool, tiny little community on the Forgotten Coast. Like it's in the middle of nowhere. It's an hour to a Walmart here, but they have like cool little local things like a Piggly Wiggly, and they got this bomb ass little pizza joint. But anyway, so the guy, I did a party here in December, a Christmas party for a real estate office. Like the local real estate office here is 14 people. And they had me come in because they couldn't go out to eat anywhere. And this house is huge. You could easily social distance in here. So they had their little 14-person thing here. And the guy who owns it, I was like, hey man, I got a question for you. Like, I'll take some of that bill off if you let me stay here next year. And he was like, well, I'm booked up for the year. And I'm like, well, that's obvious. This place is amazing and immaculate.
Right.
But he's like, let me look. And he had like a 3-day cancellation in this time period. So he texted me and was like, hey, if you want it, you can have it on this day, these 3 days. And I was like, I'll take it. So I traded out some Christmas party catering to stay in this house for 3 days.
That's awesome.
That's the best thing about food and beverage business is there's always,
yeah.
Food is, everyone's got to eat. So you can always do a little bit of wheeling and dealing. And that's why we love this industry.
Well,
I do a ton of trade.
The Godfathers themselves, Escoffier and Ritz, they used to take as many kickbacks. They took so many kickbacks off Savoy Hotel, the first hotel ever, that they, opened the Ritz Carlton, which was like more expensive and more luxurious than the Savoy. So the entire founding and foundation has been, on these
kickbacks.
It's on that raw hustle, and like, we're gonna feed you some amazing things, give you that experience, but we're also, in it for our experience as well. And
Yeah,
you got to pay yourself first. That's the first rule of business.
I mean, I do pretty well with the private caterings and easy cater type stuff. So that's really, really what has floated Beau's through the pandemic, is because the restaurant itself just isn't anywhere close to the revenue of 2019.
Right.
So those little 8 people, 6 people, private in-home dinners, which it seems like every chef is doing now. I get it. They have to do it to stay, to pay their bills. Those things have helped us out tremendously. And it just so happens that some of the people that call me have really cool shit. And I'll be like, hey, you want to trade?
right. That's the
I need a vacation.
networking.
Yeah.
Exactly. Well, Chef, we really appreciate you talking to us about, your culinary journey and Beau's. I know before we let you go, Vlad, has some interest in some of your Instagram posts.
Yeah, man, go for it.
No, I had another question before that, but it flew out of my head. Oh, a question we had on our previous pod was, how do you go about menu planning, and how do you go about, talking to the clients and discussing a price, and, what's a fair price, and how do you go about pricing your hours and all of that good stuff in terms of business side of it.
So I like to do, is this like from catering or from the restaurant, or
For
both?
catering.
For catering. Cool. So I hope that everyone who does catering switches to a custom model to where we can be paid for the shit we do. It is not easy work. The reason you're calling someone is because it's very difficult work, and it takes a long time to plan some of these things, and then it takes a lot of people to execute them sometimes. So I base all of my menus on, it's all custom, and that scares a lot of people off, but you need to scare those people off, because if they're looking for $10, then they can go get that somewhere else. Like, that's not what we do. I sit down with the clients or go on a call with them. Normally the leads come in through like email, or they call the restaurant. And then I'll say, hey, I got to talk to you in person about this, or over the phone. I'll call them and I'll say, what is it? Is it a wedding? Is it a birthday party? What are you trying to do here? Kind of get their vision, ask them, what colors they're using if it's a wedding, and what food do you like? What do you not like? Do you have any allergies? And then I just start basing the menu off of these things they tell me. Like, I don't have a script that I read on those things, but it's kind of all the same. Like, how many people is it? Do you want a buffet? Do you want plated dinner? Do you want action stations? Do you want all of these things? And then usually, and I personally don't mind it. A lot of people hate it. A lot of people in our world hate it. I don't mind the Pinterest board. Like, if a client brings to me a Pinterest board, that makes my life so much easier because they know exactly what they want. They have no idea how much it costs. So what I'll do is, okay, you want this, this, and this, and this. Those are hors d'oeuvres. This is a meal. That is a buffet item. I help them put that together. And then I usually always charge a price per person. And normally what I like to do is I always write $500 in for myself. And that's like right off the wrap. The rest of the profit goes into the business. So if it's costing me $20 per person to make this, I'm trying to get them to spend 80. And that might sound like a ripoff to a lot of people, but I have to prep it. I have to staff it. I have to travel with the food. I have to use my equipment, wear and tear. I have to do all of these things. So you're probably looking at, after you pay people, buy the food, do all the work, you're looking at like making, if you're really good, $30 off a person or $20 off a person. So the ability is there with food costs and profit margins on catering, way more than in restaurants, because it's a lot more difficult. You have to bring things off site and do a lot of things. So I always like to try to make at least, if it's $100 a person meal, then I'm trying to make $30 per person, like profiting,
Right.
net $30, you know?
No, and I think everything you said was like, right on point, and I think great advice. In our previous pod, we were talking about that as well. And, how to price you in, and, Chef John, in Nashville, he throws a 20%, gratuity on whatever the, total may be. But I think you're right. There needs to be, like, nobody counts the gas, we were talking about, what if a client is talking to you about like for 2 weeks and then last minute, changes everything and downscales on everything. Sometimes, your biggest headache clients take so much of your time and are just not worth it, even if they pay good or not. Sometimes those most headache clients drive your business down and drive your profit margin down, because they slow you down in terms of how fast you can move and your turnover rate. And
yeah,
well, I think the one thing that I see with the catering business is like, you're putting yourself out on the line every time. If I'm working behind a line, I can mess up a table here or there and the service can still net positive. But when you're out in an event, away from a kitchen, and you've brought everything with you, you can't mess up too many catering events and still be viable. That word of mouth, every single event is so important. It's completely different than a restaurant.
And I've fucked up a few of them, so I'm well aware. I have
equally there on the boat with you. You're taking the bet that you are going to execute everything they want on their menu, right? And
everything from that Pinterest board.
Yeah, everything. And everything on the chef's mind too. Sometimes I catch myself shooting myself in the foot all the time when I go way too creative for no reason, and then I'm like, what are you doing? Why?
I mean, me and my wife had to help me this one time with this one catering we did. We do a lot of theme caterings, which is super, super interesting. And then my wife is a designer, so sometimes she gets to design like the decor for these things. We did a kid's Halloween party one time where every staff member had to dress up. So we're all in costume. And I was Count Chefula, so I was a chef. Like, it was ridiculous. My staff was aliens. These people had a UFO built into their front yard with a live person in it, dressed in an alien outfit. Like, they spent buku money for this We did the little
The
flower
little
pots
Jimmy's
with the-
birthday.
yeah, with the flower pots with the little worms, the eyeballs in the punch bowls. Like we did all of that shit for this thing. And it's just like, holy cow, who has this much disposable income? Who does this?
But
you
they
know?
do,
Yeah.
and I think with those clients, you have to sell the entire package. Like
Yeah.
they don't want, they don't want to be a contractor and hire all these people. And I found myself in positions like that where, people who have the most people without a price tag are great to work with, but it's also, a headache at the same time because you're overworking as well. But then you got to charge accordingly with those clients, and
Yeah.
sometimes it may even seem steep, but you're taking your time and, you're calling people and you're looking at costumes online, and you have to get these costumes and try them on, and these hours add up really, and nobody really appreciates that back
Yeah.
of the back of
Behind
the
the
scenes work.
scenes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's detailed. I mean, some of that stuff is very detailed work. I mean, we did another wedding that was like $25,000 food budget, and I'm like, what? Like 400 people, 25 grand is your budget for food? What do you want to eat? It's just like
Right.
lobsters and truffles and fucking
Right.
Wagyu fillets for
That
everyone.
sounds like
I'm
Vlad's
like,
kind of party.
what?
Truffle, caviar,
where
Wagyu.
was this my wedding?
Yeah, this was at a person's house. They had 400 people at their house.
Holy shit.
Yeah, it was wild, man.
Goodness.
Those are the best ones. I bet, and tell me if I'm wrong, but did you have like, anxiety, the day before trying to go to sleep? And
Oh,
like
yeah.
running
Well,
the entire prep list and all the menu items, in your head?
yeah, I can't like get away from it. Whenever I have a operation like that that's going on, like it'd take me. I was on site there I showed up 3 days before the event and started like assembling a kitchen and assembling all the stuff that I needed at their house. Like, hey, I need to be there 3 days before this thing. And like took everything out of their garage, built a kitchen into their garage with like all gas burners and shit. And then made sure like everything was down to the T where it needed to be day of event. Then we're just like pulling in food and cooking. We had a staff of 36 for that one. That one was wild.
And then do you use like your, skeleton crew, or do you, have like a company you work with, or these people?
I have totally, for the catering, I have a totally different crew that just does that with me. They all have other jobs. Most of them have previous restaurant experience. They still like to do it, just not all the time. So keep them on call for caterings. When the big events come back, great. They're going to be happy because we usually do at least one a weekend.
That's what's up. And I know there's a lot of those that, really help you out to have them on call versus, having them on a full-time or a part-time.
Yeah. Yeah. And they're all like super talented people that just didn't want to work in food and bev anymore.
No, offsites events are fun when you're start cooking, the first, or at least get, over the salads and the appetizers. Then you can kind of settle
Like,
down.
push
But
this out. All right. I can take a breather.
putting 400 Wagyu fillets in an oven and cooking them till medium rare, that's, a huge gamble, and that takes a lot of, confidence and experience to pull that off. So, that's amazing to hear that you're doing that. And, it obviously takes, it doesn't happen overnight, and it takes a lot of time to build up to where you're at. And that's awesome to see, during these times to be able to pivot and, stay afloat and do your thing and, find niches in the market where you can, fill your passion and, your jobs and your business. So that's awesome. And I was going to transition into this.
Other Instagram.
Yes.
How do you eat
I
this?
think that is $1 million right there idea. And I cannot wait to see you. And I'm actually, so my question is, do you have a TikTok?
I do not have a TikTok.
All right. So one thing
my employees
I
employees are
personally
like,
ask you,
got to get one.
to take all the videos of how I eat it and post it on TikTok. And I scrolled through your page and I was just having a ball. So if you could tell all our viewers tuning in all your social media platform names and how they could check out all your amazing content that you've been posting.
So my personal Instagram is Chef Chris I at chef_Chris_I, and that's Instagram. I don't have Facebook. I think I'm like the only millennial. I may have had a Facebook for like a month back whenever I was 18.
If you don't mind me asking, how old are you?
I'm 33.
Okay.
33. Yeah, so I haven't had a Facebook ever, basically. But yeah, Chef Chris I is my Instagram. My Secret Service is the podcast Instagram. You can follow me there. I post these stupid videos that one day showed up. I act in those. That is not me. That is not who I am.
And I think that is the best part, is because it makes you want to scroll and be like, is he for real? And then
wait, is this really? Yeah.
You keep scrolling down and like
it's completely acting. It started out with, I was at the restaurant. We used to do breakfast, like when we reopened from COVID to try to get extra revenue, takeout business. We started doing breakfast, and I'm like, we had these giant cat head biscuits, which they're huge, and people are like, how do you? Literally, someone asked me, how do I eat this? And I'm like, do I need to make a fucking video for these people on how to eat this? So I go on there being sarcastic, and like 1,000 people watch it, and I'm like, 1,000 people watch me eat a fucking sausage biscuit. So I'm like, I'm gonna do more of these.
Billions are gonna watch you, dude. I'm telling you, that shit is amazing. That is like, it's like, you know, when every chef or every person goes, how did I not think of that? And that you literally did that. And I think with the whole ASMR, you know, being huge, especially, you know, in Japan and China and all that, I think you eat, like, literally there's huge Chinese and Asian celebrities and Japanese, whatever, everybody in that culture that like will eat like raw octopus and that, and you did that for Southern food, and I think that is amazing.
Yeah, it was a complete accident, but all my employees and my wife want me to get a TikTok, so I guess I'm gonna have to get a TikTok.
You have, dude. You're gonna be, you know, TikTok famous 100%.
Yeah, you and a chef named Matt. I'm literally right next to each other.
I'm betting, you know, all my cards on you. If you open a TikTok and post the you know, the videos that you already have and just continue doing that. And I'm not trying to sound like Gary Vee right now, but
I know it's a good idea because about a week ago,
that stuff, like, yeah, you're not only like, it's funny, but it's also factual. Like, you had me at the beanie weenie mac and cheese and you know, the green tomato, like the taters. I thought that, you know, and you do eat green tomatoes with ranch. Like, that is a fact. Yeah. Like, if you didn't know, like, now you know, and that's how you do eat it. And that's like, I love that.
Yeah, I ran a poll on Instagram last week, like, hey, should I get, and I even made up a funny name. I was like, do y'all think I should get one of these top tickers? And they were like, and then like 71 people replied, and like 60 of them were yes. The 11 that didn't. So Instagram, guys, is really cool because it has analytics built into it that the consumer can see. So it shows you the people that say no. And
it does help because you see, this is literally my demographic and this is exactly what they want.
Yeah. So the 10 or so that said no are all other restaurant owners. And I was like, I'm doing it. I'm making a fucking research. TikTok. Yeah.
There you go.
And I swear, if you did like what you just said, like, what is this TikTok, whatever you like, that
ticker. Yeah.
Yeah, dude, I think just that video alone would be like hilarious of you like trying to figure out how to use it.
Vlad wants to be your social media manager.
I do. I really feel like this, you know, you're just that one click, one share away from being huge, and that's awesome.
Yeah. Well, Maybe I won't have to do fucking catering anymore if that happens.
Well, it's only gonna make you do more catering, so I'm sorry.
Oh, maybe,
to
and then
inform you.
I'll be like, if you want me to do a top ticker at your catering, it's an extra $1,000. Okay.
There
You
we
gotta
go.
have the voice the entire catering event. You
Yeah.
can't break
Yeah.
character.
And then
Yeah.
if they ever need a truffle shaver, you know who to hit up for
Yeah.
that super
You,
expensive.
you really do love truffles, don't you?
No, yeah.
Yeah. It's like a thing. Yeah.
It's like the whole fundamentals of truffle. Like they're healthy, they're expensive. You shave them, you eat them with creamy, you eat them, just everything about it. I even have a rap song in the works where I go, I love truffles on my butter. I love truffles on my steak. I love truffles on my pizza. And then I hit them with the punchline, I shave truffles on my date.
Oh.
And,
Oh.
yeah, like I
Bars.
take it into the bedroom. I make it intimate. I mean, yeah. But
How many
I love
of
truffles.
how many of those events have you been to, and people and you're like using truffles, or you're using truffles somewhere, and then you got that guy, he walks on up, I got some truffle oil at my house.
A lot.
And how does that make you feel?
A lot, and I go, yeah, that's not it.
Yeah.
I shut them
same
down,
thing,
and
Chief.
I show them the real goods.
Yeah.
And then they're like, "Oh, cool. That's a lot. Yeah, you're paying for it too."
People don't appreciate truffles either. I think they're, white ones are, I think, priced right, but I think black truffles are pretty underpriced, and they also, obviously, there's a big difference between white flavor and black truffle flavor, but I think that every person in this world should eat foie gras, caviar, truffles, and
Yep. Uni.
Wagyu.
There
Wagyu
we
and
go.
uni. Yeah, I think those 5 things. And then obviously the list kind of goes down from there, but just to try, just to know. It's not everybody's boat, but that's how I feel like that's how you make, any item more expensive. Mac and cheese, $100, throw some foie gras in it,
Yeah.
There you go.
White truffles on top and just be done, or black truffles.
Exactly.
I don't use them,
$100
but
omelet.
I like them. I like them. I just don't use them.
Well, it's also if you have like the connect, right? If they're so easy to access, then you can buy a small amount versus, having to, like, I can go to my truffle guy and get $50 worth of truffles, I can go get 100, so like it all depends. And so sometimes I just get it for fun, but it really is just a show piece. That's all it is.
It is.
It's the hype.
Well, Chef,
Maybe I should do a how do you eat this truffles?
I'll send you a truffle if you do that, and you just bite into the truffle.
I'll do it.
Just do it.
All right.
Forward me your. I mean,
All
I
right.
did it with Doug. I shipped him
did.
truffles, so it's
did.
not a problem. I think if you do that, fucking split the dividends of that video with me.
Okay.
there you go. The start of something great.
Deal.
No,
On
I
the
think that's
TikToker.
amazing. I think that's great marketing, for your business as well, and it kind of grows and exponentially. And
I mean, I hope it does. They're fun to make. They're a lot of fun to make. I just
they're
make them
fun
on
to
my cell phone.
watch.
They're not scripted. Like, I do all of that within 30 seconds. Like, I don't do multiple takes. Like, that's why you'll hear me sometimes like slip up. And my wife is like shaking whenever I do them, because she's like, "You're going to say something stupid. You're going to say something stupid. You're going to do something." Yeah. I mean, my wife has a PR and marketing background. So she's like, "This is dangerous. This is dangerous," but I love them, and I'll keep doing them. They're fun. They're not scripted. They're all off the whim with my funny voice. Like, "Hey y'all, how y'all doing today?"
I love
It's
it.
all-
You
It
take a
is.
sip, and they're, I just love it. The whole thing, I love it. I mean, can't get over it. Before you got on, I was telling Doug, like, I was literally just bawling, looking through all of them, and that's awesome. And we had actually Doug's dad tuning in, and he asked, fried chicken. Let's settle the debate. Dip dry or wet first, or do you double dip?
Brine, dry, fry.
Brine, dry, fry.
There you go.
You heard it here. That's
Yep.
how you do fried chicken. Bone in, right?
Oh yeah, bone in.
Gotta have the
There
bone
you
in.
are. Bone.
Yeah, it's all bone
I
in.
learned that from my times at Royster. All the southern people that came,
Ah,
they would be like, "Bro, this isn't fried chicken. It doesn't have a bone. What is this?"
Like,
So-
I don't know. Grant told me to do it.
Exactly.
yeah.
Just
You
say, "I
don't
just work
you don't
here."
tell that guy no. Like,
No, you don't.
you want me to call him over here? No, you don't. Okay.
Yeah, I had the pleasure of frying like 600 thighs a night in this restaurant.
Royster, I didn't get to eat there when I went to Chicago, but I wanted to eat there. Our trip to Chicago was just very packed with things to do and very quick. Like
What
we went to
spots
see
did you stop by, or did you go to any historical
well, we-
spots or any?
yeah, we went to see the Rolling Stones at Soldier Field because I got really, really lucky and got row one seats on Ticketmaster at midnight. Like when they went on sale, like hitting refresh. And my wife loves the Rolling Stones. I didn't really care, but I knew I wanted to go to Chicago, and it just so happened to be that concert was there, and it was going to make me look good, so I did it. And,
Brownie points.
Yeah, and then whenever we were there, we were only there 3 days. The next night was a Cubs game, and I was like, I'm not coming to Chicago without going to Wrigley Field. So I ate a hot dog at Wrigley Field with that like nuclear fucking green relish they make there.
Hell yeah.
I don't know what that shit is, but it's pretty good.
It's delicious.
Sweet and tangy.
Yeah, and then we went to Demo's Pizza. That was pretty good. And I really, really wanted to go to this tiny steakhouse called Booth House, but we couldn't get a reservation and we couldn't get in. So where did we eat? Oh, we ate at Pacific Standard Time, which was
Really
pretty good. Yeah, it was pretty good. We ate there.
You had the pizza or the bread from the oven?
Yeah, that was good. Where else did we eat in Chicago? We ate at I'll butcher the name. Giordano's, something like that.
Giordano's.
Giordano's. We ate Giordano's. That was my first ever experience with like true Chicago style pizza.
And what's your opinion on that?
I liked it, man. The weird thing that I liked about that pizza was they serve it to you. Like they scoop it out of the little thing and they put it on the plate for you. I'm still like, I'm gonna have to do a how do you eat this on Chicago style pizza, because I'm like trying to pick it up. The guy's like, no, buddy, you got fork and knife. I'm like, what? No, like
It's pizza.
And it's like, no, that's not how we do it here. And I'm like, okay, cool. I'll use the fork and the knife. This guy is a lot bigger than me, and he has a funny accent, and he'll beat my ass if I eat this pizza with my hands. So we ate there. But that was pretty much the extent. It was a quick trip.
Well,
we
it
didn't
sounds
get
like
to
you
do,
had all the true Chicago food
Highlights,
spots. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it would have been nice to go to like Everest or Alinea or Royster or any of the like big Michelin star, like high French fashion places or any of that stuff. It would have been cool to go to those. Like we've eaten at those in other cities, just not Chicago yet.
And hopefully they're still around when you make a trip back up here.
I hope so.
But that's with the entire food scene, and it's kind of been hard, and that's the whole reason of this podcast. And I know you have a podcast yourself, and I did take a listen, and I thought it's as well awesome, and everything you do is really well done, and has good taste, and is done properly, and the studio looks amazing. And tell us more about your podcast and who do you have on and what do you guys talk about?
Yeah, so the podcast started during COVID. I always wanted to do like I always loved talking about restaurants, not specifically food, but restaurants, and like the hospitality business. It's a fun, cool thing that we all get into and love. It's yes, we get to cook, but I love the hospitality business kind of more than I love cooking. So during COVID, we were sitting around and we're like, what the fuck are we going to do, man? So we started telling like stories about the industry, and I'm like, someone needs to record this. And all my buddies were like, dude, we will be divorced. We will be fired. We will lose everything we have if people hear these stories. And some of the stories are true. Like, you would be divorced, you would be fired. Like, this business brings a lot of problems into your life as well. And I'm like, okay, so we can't do that. And then I was like, well, what if we did it anonymous? What if we made it like 60 Minutes or some like TV show, like anonymous, where we change their voices? And I had no idea, and still have no idea how to do any of that shit. My dishwasher, Atlas, on the show, his real name is Tanner.
Does he write beats by any chance on the side?
No, he doesn't. He doesn't write beats, but the guy that did our theme song does write beats. He is one of my buddies from, like, all of this, like, my friends kind of like just gave to me and let me, he wrote me that song on My Secret Service and did that. But Tanner, his mom got a catering from me during COVID. We're closed, and so it's just like a box lunch, essentially. It was like 5 people worth of food. She was just probably trying to help us out, to be honest with you. And so I make her the food and I bring it to their house. We live in the same neighborhood, a pretty large neighborhood, but we live in the same neighborhood. And he's like, hey, chef, you want to see my setup? And I'm like, I mean, he's my dishwasher. What do you got? A dish machine in your house? What the fuck you got going, man? So he walks me into his room and he has like this computer, like 4 or 5 computer screens and like these cameras all over his room, and he's doing VR and he's got all these microphones. And I'm like, do you fucking trade stocks or something? What are you doing here, man? And he was like, no, man, like, I play video games, I watch Twitch, and I do all this stuff. And I was like, could you do a podcast? And he's like, I mean, I could, yeah. I'm like, cool. Be at the restaurant tomorrow morning. We're starting a podcast. And he was like, all right. So he shows up and we have like this little shed, and that was our bar. And I'm like, all right, let's take all this shit out of here. So like we rip all this shit out of the bar. And he was like, all right, so we need this, and this. And I start adding all the stuff up, and I'm like, this is like a lot of money, Tanner. And he was like, I'm just telling you, you said you wanted to be the best. This is how you do it. This is how you get the best stuff. And I'm like, okay. So we started buying stuff and just gradually piecing it together through COVID until the studio was done. But Tanner did all that work by himself. Like, he did the outfitting, he hooked up all the electronics, and I mean, we have a little bar in there too, like a little 4-tap system. Yeah, he did all of that. And now he still works at the restaurant now that we're reopened, but he does that as his main job, is My Secret Service. And then part-time he works in the restaurant, which is cool for him because he got put on salary for that, because he pretty much works around the clock now. Like, whenever I need it, when it might be, we have a guest on from Australia, so we have to record at who knows what fucking time. But yeah, it's been cool, man. I like the fact that we do it and keep people anonymous, because
I like that you changed the voice and the millions served. I think that that it's good. It draws you in, and it it's mysterious, where that mystery sells it.
Yeah,
and the story's great.
The crazy thing is, the very first episode, like, that dude, he owns a restaurant in our town, and he's a friend of mine, and he's telling these stories, like, tells me on air that he has had affairs, and I'm like, okay, this is real now. Like, these people are really airing out their laundry, like really airing it out. And I don't know if I can protect you, dude. Like, I'm going to change your voice, but the day that episode aired, I probably had 80 text messages of people asking me, who the fuck is that? And I'm like, I can't tell you.
Right.
Sworn to secrecy. The only way you know who's been on the show is either one, they tell you, or two, you come into the studio and you look at the wall, because everyone who's on the show signs the wall. If they're guests like that can come in studio. If not, then we just don't sign it. But
Yeah.
I'm shocked at how many like big name people are willing to come on strictly because we're anonymous, and they just want to talk a bunch of shit about the industry for an hour. And
I think that's great.
Yeah,
I would love to come on and
Vlad's gonna
and
come
shoot the
play, brings
dirt
you some
for-
truffles.
Rod, you can come on, and then like, so season 2 is coming out in February, like pretty soon, in a couple days. So we don't know when the episodes are gonna air. We know what day the episodes air, on Tuesday at midnight, but we don't know what episode is first, and we don't know what episode is last. So it's scrambled. So we don't even know like what episode is going to be 3 or 4 or 7 or 1, you know?
Right.
And like, just to kind of add like an extra level of security for people, to where like they don't feel so uncomfortable. Like, hey, we don't know when your episode's coming out. Some people want to hear them before, and like have Atlas take out a bunch of stuff or bleep out some things. But yeah, we don't even know. Some of the guests, I have no idea who they are also, because they'll black out their screen on Zoom and I won't even see them. So, which makes it very interesting to try to interview people like that. Like,
yeah, I couldn't imagine there's like no
and the
interaction.
setup behind it is, you know, it's extensive, and your guy definitely knows what he's doing.
yeah,
So
he's a
props
great
to him.
kid.
It's a lot, and I equally had one of my old chef buddies help me. They were doing Twitch and, you know, gaming and stuff, and he helped me, you know, set everything up, and, you know, it took us about 3 or 4 weeks to get everything the way it needed to be, and like actually, you know, make it look presentable.
Yeah,
Definitely.
I mean, I still have no idea how any of that shit works. Like, I literally put on headphones and talk. That's it.
Must be
It's
nice,
so-
Doug, right?
I know it's so funny, the, you know, that sort of idea of, you know, us as chefs are nothing without our dishwashers, and then, you know, you also have this person where if you didn't sort of, you know, put that interaction and, you know, develop that space for him to like share these skills with you, you would also, you know, never know. So
Yeah.
it just goes to show you never really know someone's, you know, full potential until you take the time to learn who that person is and, you know, what they're capable of.
Yeah, and he produces 2 other shows now as well. So like, we started doing the podcast in September. He's picked up 2 other podcasts that he produces now. So I'm like, dude, this is gonna be your full-time job in
That's
18
awesome.
months. Hopefully he can just do that. You know, I hope that
Right.
he gets to that level to where that's just what he can do, because it's great to see like those guys grow. It's great to see people, even in the kitchens. Like, we love to see our cooks go places. Like, I
Yeah.
always like to say, I'm the bridesmaid. Like, I have 3 cooks running Michelin star restaurants that work for me, and I'm nowhere near that level. Like, nowhere even close can I cook with those guys anymore. But they're off. You know, one of them's at Bresca in DC. Another one works for John George, and another one is a GM for Jean George. And I'm like, how did 3 of my cooks go to work for Ryan Rotino and fucking John George? Like, I have no
And that's
idea.
amazing, because
Yeah.
you know, you helped them along their journey, and you were part of their story as well.
Yeah.
Definitely. Well, Chef, thank you so much for sharing, you know, your podcast and just, you know, your humor and everything you got going on at Beau's and sort of your story. I know we have one, you know, pressing closing question before we let you go that has sort of given us an array of answers. But, you know, before we let you go, we do need to know from you, why 86?
Because it's why 86? Because it's the 86th item on Delmonico's menu in New York City. That's why it's 86. I mean, fucking everyone's done it forever.
Yeah.
I love 86 and shit, by the way. It's my favorite thing to do. Some people hate it, but I'm like, we're 86 that. We sold out. We're done. fucking Brussels sprouts getting 86. Love it.
The good old Brussels sprouts.
No, it's our mission at the end of, you know, this podcast journey years down the road to finally figure out why 86. You know, we've interviewed so many chefs from different countries who we all use 86. We all yell 86. We all know what that means, but where did it start? Why is it so known throughout our entire industry?
Pass it along. It's like anything else, you know. But it's the only one thing that we all have in common, I guess.
Yeah, it's intriguing.
It is. Obviously, there's a lot more connections, but you know, it's like you don't know where you even heard it first. You know, was it on TV? Was it in, you know? And it's crazy, but we all know it. We all use it, and there's some mystery there, and we're, you know, trying to find the roots of that. But we want to thank you so much for coming on the pod, sharing your beautiful experience. You know, you're a true hustler, and we love hearing everything you brought to the table and you shared with us. And you know, we wish you nothing but success, and we're rooting for you. We'll be making sure to like and comment on all your stuff, and it's truly amazing. I'm excited to see your TikTok or TikToker, if that happens.
Talk ticker. There you go.
Talk ticker.
The talk ticker.
I'll be all over it.
Talk ticker.
Yeah.
But
well, all right, guys. Well, I'll see y'all next time on Late Night with Chefs.
Thank you so much, Chef Chris. Have a wonderful night. We really
enjoyed
this one. Thank you, everyone. As always, make sure to like, follow, and subscribe. Hit that notification button. And if you have any questions for Chef Chris, make sure to DM him directly or hit us up, and we'll make sure to get it to him. Thank you so much, and have a wonderful night.